I'd like to open up the March 9th, 2022 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:30. Do we have a need for a non-public?
Madam Chairperson, we do RSA 91A 3(1), lowercase a, employment, D, reputation, and E, pending litigation.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the February 16th minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or changes? I do. On page 8, the first motion does not have the vote attached. We need to have a vote. I'm sure we all voted in the affirmative, but we don't have that. Does anybody else have any corrections or changes? Oh, let's see. I think I have one on 10. Oh, yeah, I have another one on page 10 under committee report. My committee report, this next to last line, it said she stated the committee has some concerns about the boats near the, it should say Cary Beach swim lines. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have any corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next one is the February 23rd. Does anybody have any corrections or changes? I do. On the second page under discussion, it's that first paragraph under discussion is going to be 1, 2, 3, fourth line up from the bottom. It should say she doesn't care if the board signs these, doesn't care if the board signs this one. There's just an extra on to that needs to come out. Any other corrections or changes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept as changed?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, we're going to move on. We have a series of public hearings tonight. I'll start with the first one. I'll open that public hearing. It's the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, at the meeting that begins at 6:30 at the Great Hall, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for the acceptance of unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A, relative to a grant to purchase 34 AEDs for the town of Wolfeboro through the ARPA SFRF locally equipped matching program. The total expenditure is $47,601.44. The state gopher will reimburse 90% or $42,842, and the town's share of 10% will be $4,760. The following will be purchased: 8 designated units for the fire rescue and will be located Engine 1, 2, 4, Ladder 1, Utility 1, Car 1, Boat 1, Summer, Snowmobile Winter, Boat 2, Gator, and Ranger. 12 defibrillator tech Lifeline AED fixed wall mounts units will be located Town Hall, Great Hall, Town Hall, first floor, transfer station, water treatment plant, public works garage, highway garage, wastewater treatment plant, public safety building lobby, fire station, Libby Museum, library, park and rec maintenance. 15 mobile units located in 11 police cruisers and 3 highway foreman vehicles. And do I have anybody here who'd like to speak to them? There you are.
Thank you. Just a brief summary of how we got here. Last summer, just prior to the budget process, we were looking at ways to replace the AEDs that we keep on our fire apparatus. They are, as we speak, 20 years old. Several of them are out of service. They're obsolete. We can't get batteries. We can't get parts and so forth. And I was kind of scratching my head thinking, okay, how can we do this? And got some prices and was putting together what I expected was going to be a capital outlay request to do that. As that process was taking place, frankly, I happened to mention it at a joint loss management committee meeting, and there seemed to be a lot of interest in updating, upgrading the AED capabilities of the various town buildings, which I certainly would agree with. Early fall, I became aware of a grant possibility for exactly that. The equipment had to be able to be related to the COVID pandemic in some way, shape, or form. So after talking to various department heads and coming up with a list of locations, we put together a grant proposal for the AEDs, and lo and behold, it was granted, which is why we're here today. What this would allow us to do, and I would ask that if people are looking at the list of locations and so forth, there are some glaring absences, frankly, because some of the facilities already have them and they're in good shape and have been well maintained. Parks and Rec primarily has a couple of them, the hockey rink, some ones that go to the beaches in the summer. The ski lodge has one. They're in good shape. They're well maintained. And actually, the units we propose to buy are identical to those. What we proposed was a package that involves adding units that are slightly more elaborate than the typical wall mount ones you might see for the fire apparatus, since we are trained in the use of those and have some more capabilities. The rest are either wall mount units. We propose to put one here and another one downstairs in Town Hall. And the list of locations that you saw. The police department was interested in the mobile units for the police cruisers, and in discussion with Public Works, they thought it would be a great idea to have them in the highway foreman vehicles. So essentially, it was granted. It's been since approved by the governor and council. So with your concurrence here tonight, we'll place the order and away we go. We do have a plan in place if and when they arrive to get them all registered with the state and so forth, which is required. A gentleman who works for the state in this field has offered to come up and do some training for interested employees on care and maintenance and use of the units and so forth. And we are, in conjunction with Joint Loss, trying to ramp up our, we'll call it an instructor cadre, for lack of a better word, in CPR. So our intent going forward would be to be able to offer any interested town employees an actual full CPR class, which we will, do going forward. But the idea of being able to get all these units for literally 10 cents on the dollar was, we wanted to get on it rather than wait. So that's how we got here today.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this grant? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any? Dave?
Yeah, you answered my question, Tom. I had down there, you had it only at the Parks and Rec maintenance building?
Right, that's the one of their facilities that doesn't have one today.
Okay. And the other one was number 9, the fire substation. I'm assuming that's the one on Route 109?
Yes.
Why would we have one out there?
Well, the staff is out there fairly routinely. That said, they will probably be there in an apparatus that also has one. I'll be honest, I included that in case there was an issue with the price and we had to let one go. That was going to be the throwaway. And they did fund the whole thing, so here we are.
Yeah, because that building, my opinion, nobody should be in it anyway.
Well, that's the conversation for another day, but that day comes, we can remove it, and there'd probably be another facility to use it.
Only question I had.
I have a question. Brad, do you have one?
Yeah, just one quick question. I think you kind of answered it. You talked about offering a CPR program for the staff, stuff like that. would that be the same as offering some training for some of the employees of the different locations just to operate the AED unit?
There's two things. The gentleman from the state offers approximately an hour-long, he calls it his Intro to AED program, as he likes to say, care and feeding of your AED. It's basic maintenance and storage and so forth with some general instruction on how to use it. They're designed for lay people. It literally will talk to you and tell you how to use it. But going forward, if once we ramp up to have the ability to do larger scale CPR trainings, generally the CPR classes now include an AED component, which would be a little more in-depth on how the machine works and capabilities and that sort of thing. But they are geared for lay people. You don't have to be certified in any kind of EMS to do it.
I have a question for the town manager. I'm assuming we're going to take that amount and there's a price per unit and we will divide it out into all those different budgets?
So Tom and I have spoken about this, and that is our plan at this point, is to distribute it, allocate it appropriately to the departments. The chief had spoken with all department heads about it prior to this point, and I believe that's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Brian.
This is just a point of information for you, Chief Zotti. The school department does through at least the nurse I knew at Carpenter School, they do training, CPR training every year. And so they have a program that's been in place right along. It might be something that you guys can jump in with and say, can we offer it to town employees too?
Yeah, no, we can certainly we could follow that up, but I suspect it would be the identical training. So,
yeah.
One other point to note, you may see that there's no MED equipment on here. That's because they already have them on their trucks.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing nothing else, can I have a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen authorize the purchase of 34 AEDs for the town of Wolfeboro through the ARPA SFRF Locality Equipment Matching Program. The total expenditure of $47,601.44. The state will reimburse 90% of $42,842, and the town share is 10%, which is $4,760.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. I will open up the next public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, at their meeting, which starts at 6:30 p.m. in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for the acceptance of unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A, relative to unanticipated grant funds in the amount of $100,000 estimate for the Wolfeboro Bay Watershed Management Plan project. Is there anybody here to speak to that?
So it's basically exactly what you said. We have applied for a grant. We were awarded it to help offset the cost of the current Wolfeboro Bay project. So it's a positive step toward that program.
And we're working with the Lake Winnipesaukee Association. They're going to do a lot of the monitoring because they have done the other watershed plans in the area. So do I have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this grant? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to accept the unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3 relative to unanticipated grant funds in the amounts of $100,000 estimated for the Wolfeboro Bay Watershed Management Plan project.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next public hearing is the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, at their meeting, which starts at 6:30 in the Great Hall Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for the acceptance of unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A, relative to unanticipated grant funds up to $322,164 from the Department of Environmental Service for Water System Grant Projects. Dave?
Yes. So the New Hampshire DES had put out a grant program. We applied for 5 different grants, and one we did not get. We did receive an $82,000 grant for asset management on the water system. So this would be taking from where we left off about 2-3 years ago, updating it and doing also some mapping upgrades and quite a bit of work on that $82,000. So that's specifically one we have in hand. We have 2 other ones that we believe we're going to get. We haven't finalized them yet for $20,000 for a water system audit. That's the leak detection, which we've made a priority this year. So that one, again, verbally looks like it, but we haven't heard it yet. The third one is an energy audit. Again, similarly, we had one done 3 years ago, and we're looking at updating that. So we're not sure about that one. The fourth one we just heard this week was $200,000 for this energy implementation. So we had done the audit. One of the things we thought we might be able to do to save energy was to put a turbine in, a micro turbine, where we have a pressure reducing valve. Right now, because the pond is so high, we have to knock the pressure down by 50 pounds at the Pine Hill Cemetery, and that we believe we can convert to energy. So this is going to be a grant. When we looked at the economics before, the payback wasn't there. Now that we have this big grant, so this is the one that, again, we've been notified. We're going to get accepted. We have to kind of update the proposal and get it back to them. So the wording here is that we want to accept everything we get, and you know what they're all for, up to that amount. Right now, we only have $82,000 that's officially in hand. So that's the one that we actually had. The others are all pending, but they're looking really good. So we can come back when we get official notice, but we figured we'd take the opportunity today with all the grants coming in to at least have the discussion.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this grant? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, anybody have any questions or concerns? I have one. I was just wondering if you'd put this hydro turbine in, will it take a lot of energy? Will it affect at all what our energy purchase? We'll have a pack. Have you talked to Barry about that?
Well, it's kind of like, you know, the solar, it's a reversed, we put energy into the system. So we have a reverse meter. So
Yes.
so it'll be that type of system, because we won't be using it, because at that point we don't use much energy.
But it's like your solar panels. You put, energy.
It's only going to be when the water's running.
Okay, so you don't think it'll have a large impact on the town's energy use?
Well, we're going to, during peak times, when we're using a lot of water, there'll be more energy. That's going to go into the system at the time when we're needing it. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for Barry to sell it, because if it was too much energy at the wrong time, say if we're generating any in the middle of the night when there's no energy to be needed, that might be a problem. But I don't think it's going to be an issue, and it's not a whole lot of money, a whole lot of energy.
I guess that's what I'm saying. And if it is an issue, I don't know. We have a cap on how much solar we can have in the contract. So that's what I was fishing for here, whether this will have much of an impact, and as long as we check with Barry.
We definitely, part of it, we've already talked before, but he'll definitely be in the loop on it, and it's much smaller than those big megawatt, the kilowatt projects they're talking about. Yeah.
Any other selectmen, any questions? Hearing none, does anybody have a motion for me?
Move to the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to accept unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3, lowercase a, relative to unanticipated grant funds up to $322,164, the Department of Environmental Services for Water System Grant Projects.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Jim, do you want to go on with this next one for the 1.9 million?
No, I think we can just reiterate to the voters that after last night's success at the votes, that we will be utilizing that $1.98 million for Port Wedland project, sewer pump stations at Mill Street, water treatment plant upgrades, and water main upgrades. So those will be projects that'll be coming in front of you this year with capital project updates.
Okay. We'll go on to the next public hearing, and I'll open it up. It's the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at approximately 6:30 p.m. in the Great Hall of the Wolfeboro Town Hall for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is less than $5,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B relative to a donation of a tower pad for the Abenaki Twister ski gun valued at $3,817.44. Do I have anybody here who will speak to this?
With the expansion of Twister, it's actually more than one pad. It's a bunch of pads that we needed to line the hill for anything that was exposed on the side. So, okay.
And where did we get this grant?
It was from the Friends of Abenaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we definitely need to tell people it is one of the many gifts from the Friends of Abenaki. Do I have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this grant? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Selectmen, anybody have any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to accept unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is less than $5,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B relative to the donation of tower pads for Abenaki Twister ski guns valued at $3,817.44.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, now we're going to go into temporary event permit public hearings, and I'll open up the first one. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Daniel Webster Council BSA to host a fishing derby at Dockside and the Community Bandstand, May 13th through 16th, 2022, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come on up.
That would be me.
Yep. If you'll just state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Ray Meyer. I'm a volunteer with the Daniel Webster Council. I'm also a scoutmaster down in 253 in Alton, so it's close to home here, and it's nice to be able to get an opportunity to use that location for our event. We've been able to do so since we took over in 2017, except for 1 year we had a little hiatus. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So we've been, and it's very successful. Through the use of technology these days, these events, we see fewer and fewer people actually come to the scales because there's real-time scoring out on the water, and people find out exactly what's already been brought in. So, but this is in conjunction with New Hampshire Fish and Game, and we usually have an officer with us there to verify the weigh-in.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this permit? I'll close the public hearing. Board members, there was a note that we have an issue, we may have an issue with the pending construction deadline. Does anybody know whether that's going to be okay?
So the town docks, we're still shooting May 15th. And so this shouldn't be, what's the date on this?
I thought it was the 13th.
The 13th to
Through the
15th.
15th. That's why I'm asking.
No, but that side's almost done. So anything we'll do will be finishing up on the other side. It'll be punchless items. We should be fine.
Okay.
We will have issues in the parking lot because that's not going to be incomplete. And, we'll have some areas there, but it's going to be ready for public and public use, by the middle of May. So
Okay.
it should be a set.
Realizing we're going to be under construction and most of it's going to be down the other end. And does that work okay? Okay. All righty. Anybody else? Board members?
I'll make a motion for the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to grant a temporary event permit for the Daniel Webster Council BSA to host a fishing derby at Dockside and the Community Bandstand from May 13th to the 15th, 2022, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'll open up the next public hearing, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to host a fundraising walk on May 14th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., starting from the Falls Field along the Bridge Falls Path and Cotton Valley Trail. And I think somebody may be here remotely. Is there anybody here who would like to speak to this? Hearing none. I don't know if somebody, can you see whether
I
our...
believe she's trying to speak, but it's not coming through.
We can go on. I don't, we've had this happen. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this temporary event permit? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any issues? We have one from Park and Rec, no sidewalks on Crescent Lake Avenue, should have cones out, and that would just go in the letter we send to them, Jim?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to grant a temporary event permit for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to host a fundraising walk on May 14th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., starting from Foss Field along the Bridge Falls Path and Cotton Valley Trail, contingent upon received an insurance certificate no later than 2 weeks prior to the event. Permit number 2022-22.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I'll open up the last public hearing on a temporary event permit. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the New England Lineman Group to host a boat show on June 11th, 2022, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the town docks. If you could just state your name for the record.
I'm Betsy Bryant. I'm on the board of directors for the New England Lineman Group. My husband Bob is here as well. We are the co-chairs for the show this year. It's basically the same that we've been doing most years. The New Hampshire Boat Museum would like to do a static display as well. One of our missions is to not only show our boats and use our boats, but also encourage youth in taking on this hobby. And that includes working on boats, building boats, restoring boats. So we're very supportive of the New Hampshire Boat Museum and their boat building program. They would like to have some of their boats that their students build there and explain what they do with their programs in conjunction with our show. So basically we'd be using some of the docks. I sent in the map like we normally do, use the gazebo for our boat registration and more information about our club and on our boats. And we'd also like to, if this is approved, invite the Marine Patrol to come and have a booth there as well, just to foster safe boating practices.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this temporary event permit? Hearing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any questions or concerns? I also saw here that you would like 1 or 2 parking spaces by the gazebo. Okay. So we'll let it be. All righty. And I want to also thank you for being willing to talk about milfoil and checking the boats. That's important. I really appreciate that. Any other selectmen have any concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to grant temporary event permit for the New England Lineman Group to host boat show on June 11th, 2022, from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. at the town docks, permit number 2022-23.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Righty. Next item on the agenda, public input, 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes. Do I have anybody who'd like to give us any public input? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is the bulk vote. The weekly manifest for February 18th, 2022 is $126,791.94. February 25th is $278,632.16, and March 4th is $2,130,357.02, and that one had a payment to the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. We have property tax refund, and we have a property tax exemption that was denied. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about any of the items on the bulk vote? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move to approve bulk vote items A through C.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, we're moving on to new business, the commercial vehicle landing permit, Winnie Bell. Do I have somebody here?
Evening, Madam Chairman. This is pretty much the same as it has been in previous years, same amount of landings. We work very closely with the Mount Washington on our schedules, so there's really, we never have any conflict at all with them.
Okay, so you know they're coming in 6 days a week. The only day they're not coming in now is Sunday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And I'm assuming that you will send us in an insurance policy?
Certainly.
Okay. Board members, does anybody have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move to approve the commercial vessel landing permit for the Winnie Bell for the 2022 season.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time and appreciate the approval.
You have it. Okay, next one is commercial vehicle landing permit, Mount Washington. Is anybody here for that? Come on up.
My name is Jared Moreo. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Mount Washington. We are, after a couple of tough years with abbreviated schedules, we're looking to return to Wolfeboro on a more regular schedule, and as noted, we are looking to increase by 1 day in July and August, so it would be a 6-day-a-week arrival rather than a 5-day-a-week arrival. That being said, we are busy planning our 150th anniversary, which is this year. And we are getting the boat ready for that. She'll have, we're doing some hull maintenance, replacing her rudder in addition to the props that were replaced last year. So we're ready to go.
Very good. Does any board members have any questions?
Can you have a 150th anniversary day at the Wolfeboro Town Docks?
We can certainly take that into consideration. We will be arriving that day. So our gala is scheduled for August 12th. We
Okay.
will have a departure from Wolfeboro on that day.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
And it looks like you're going to be here for our prom starting on May 7th,
We have, yes.
and then you come in regularly on Saturdays in May and June, and then you start coming in 6 days a week.
Correct.
And you go all the way through to,
Yes, we used to do only Tuesday through Saturday in July and August, and then Monday through Saturday in September and October. We're now planning to go Monday through Saturday from July through October.
beautiful. Well, thank you very much. I am sure many of us will be glad to hear the sound of the Mount coming in daily.
Well, we're
Just
glad to
about.
be back.
Yeah, well, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. I need a motion.
Move to approve the commercial vessel landing permit of the MS Mount Washington for the 2022 season.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, we're going to go on to the next one, is the 2022 Hawkers and Peddlers permit location. Jim, are you taking this one, or am I, or?
So this is coming in front of you relative to the Hawkers and Peddlers ordinance and the incumbents who are looking to have the repeat locations.
Yeah, I guess we have one, Ally Cooper, who's going to change from 4 to 3, and we have nobody who wants that lovely fourth one that we have problems with at Kate Park. So I guess the question I have for the board, we have nobody who has requested the fourth spot. Do we want to put in an ad again for that, or do we want to just leave it as is?
Well, if somebody does come along and want that space, I suppose if it's open, they can deal with it.
Yeah, I just didn't see any point of spending the money to put another ad in the paper. I guess was really.
People that know about it will find it if they want it.
Is there anything on the town website?
There is under our ordinance. You can find where the 4 spots are in our ordinance. Yes.
I can absolutely have that open spot placed on the website. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
You're the best, Jim.
All right. All right. Can I have a motion to accept the 3 applicants?
I'll move to grant the following hawkers and peddlers permits for the 2022 season, May 1st through December 31st. Location 1, Robert DeLungowicz, a.k.a. Hot Dog Bob. Location 2, Robert DeLungowicz, Hot Dog Bob. And location 3, Ally Cooper, a.k.a. Ally Caps.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is the approval of request to expend capital reserve funds, highway and solid waste vehicle equipment, $106,175 for the installation and purchase of a new baler at the solid waste facility. David.
Hey. Well, again, thank you to the voters. Yesterday, we replenished our cap reserve fund for our highway vehicles and solid waste equipment. And we are in dire need. We had pushed our horizontal baler beyond its useful life, and it broke a couple of months ago. It was scheduled to get replaced this year. We went out to bid, and I did send a letter to the board with the bid results. There were lower bids, but in discussions with Adam, our superintendent at the solid waste facility, we decided that the highest bid was actually in the best interest of the town for different reasons. Each of the different bids had issues with them, whether they didn't meet the technical specifications, or that the installer wasn't someone we were familiar with, or so we were not normally do I come in asking to go for the highest bid that's here, but I really believe it's in the best interest for multiple reasons. It's a local contractor we've had over 20 years experience with. They are the ones that can get it up and running fastest. Some of these other ones could be 6 months or longer lead times. And the company from Ontario in Canada, we're concerned about parts for vendors outside. So we are recommending going with them and asking the board to approve the budget, the numbers we've put up here.
I have one question. I was looking at how much we had in the capital reserve fund at the end, and your printout, I think it must have been for the CIP, where we were looking at what vehicles we need to replace. We replaced one of the international trucks, did we?
Yes, that's when we didn't, because we had enough money in the fall, and we found HD6, the new red International that you see driving around. That's the one we got a heck of a deal on, the standard. So that money we paid for, and then with the money that was appropriated now, brings the fund back up to probably over 200,000.
Right. And then what I see is the next time we need a vehicle is in 2024?
In 23, is there some other equipment you have in there?
You may have changed it since this is when you went to the CIP, but I didn't see anything. The 23 was for an international truck. That's why I asked.
Correct. So what's happening now is because of the prices of the trucks, and we're going to do is put money into and extend another year, because what we're seeing right now, because of the craziness of the pandemic, we're going to push off any, because if we were to go out to bid now for trucks, that's what we're going to do, and the prices were crazy. They didn't fit. So we're going to take a year. We're going to keep our trucks running now, and we had invested money in some of the engine work so that we could push it down. We'll come back with the board and the town manager with an updated plan, because we're going to have to revise based on, will these increases be the norm, or will they come back down? If so, we're going to have to revise the amounts because our budgets no longer meet what the new trucks are costing, and it's going beyond escalation. It's not like a 3%. There's 25, 30% increases in some of these.
And that's exactly why I pulled this, to see how many things you had planned for next year. And I didn't see any. The next one, if you replaced one of your six-wheelers, that there wasn't anything until 2024, which gives you the time to build up some of the things, so.
Yep.
Okay, does anybody else? Brad?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I'd completely back up Dave's reasoning for going with Atlantic Recycling. I dealt with them up on Ospey for years and years, and they are one of the best companies around in the recycling materials to work with. Their response time, as you mentioned, is top-notch. They're there usually that day when you call them or first thing the next morning.
A 20-year useful life. This baler is over 25 years old, but we did put money into it about 5 years ago to extend this useful life. And it was Atlantic Recycling who helped us. It failed. We welded it back and held it together for 5 more years. So we pushed it. So this is a 20-year purchase.
Perfect.
And hopefully it'll last longer.
Yeah, perfect.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll second Brad's motion that he kind of already made to approve it.
That was a motion, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
106, 175.
I'll formalize it to move the
thank you,
Board
Brandon.
of Selectmen to authorize a request to expend capital reserve funds, highway and solid waste vehicle equipment of $106,175 for the installation and purchase of a new baler at the solid waste facility.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All righty. The next item on the agenda is the ARPA funding bid process.
So I think Dave and I will hit you guys up on this one, along with Brad. You have a memo from me regarding our procurement policy. What we are looking at is we are running into an issue with contractors, lead time on equipment, and that's creating issues as far as being able to potentially complete projects. The current procurement policy does authorize the town manager to waive the procurement policy when in the best interest of the town. It also is backed up by saying the Board of Selectmen may also. So I'm asking for the Board of Selectmen to back me up on this so that we have the ability to waive the procurement policy when it's in the best interest of the town to be able to spend these ARPA funds and complete some of these projects based on working relationships that we have with contractors, and supply chain issues, and I think Dave can back up.
Right. What I also want to add, too, part of this is also getting money back into the economy. So we want to use local contractors. We have, in the last couple of bids, Integrity won 2 of our bids, and Jake Dawson won the other bid. So they're local contractors using people here. So we're looking at doing design build with them also, trying to save some money on engineering, trying to get ahead of the wave with all the new, all this money coming in. The contractors are going to get busy, and the economy is still strong. There's still developments out there which are pushing for these construction. So this will allow us to really expedite and get these projects done in a quicker, which actually will save us money. And so we will continue to have oversight. So we'll use engineers to help with inspections and assuring projects are being done to specifications. But instead of getting these 3-inch spec books on each project, we're going to kind of streamline that process, specifically on the seasonal water line upgrades. We got 3 projects ready to go on that, and as soon as we get all the easements, we want to get moving quickly. So I think this will help us expedite, and actually in the long run give us more money in town and quality control and meeting schedule. The other thing also is using the government purchasing as Sourcewell. So generators right now we're looking at, we need to have 3 or 4 generators, so we're looking at, but we have to have them designed appropriately. So we're using an electrical engineer to help us with that. So for the library and the pump stations and public safety building, the public highway building, we'll be looking at going towards that type of purchasing.
And one of the things that we've committed to on this is we will provide quarterly updates to the Board of Selectmen to outline what we've procured, why, how, and why it was in the best interest of the town.
And you had a group of people who were going to do it. Did you tell us who they were?
Yeah, so the ARPA committee is made up of Dave Ford, Brad Harriman, Kathy Carpentier, our finance director, and myself.
Okay. Does anybody, my one comment and question is I would like us to set dates once it gets started on when the reports are going to come. So is it going to be the first meeting in June so we know and it comes to us on a regular schedule that people in the town also will know that we're going to hear the reports on that?
Yeah, it's written documentation before the meeting in our packets, and then make sure like the first quarter of every, the first board meeting of every quarter, we just have an update so we know what's going on. Because people ask us in town and they say, what's going on? And we have to know.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I have been a little slow on the project update report, but we will make that. There's other projects that aren't ARPA, in addition to these which are ARPA, but we'll have them all because we are, by the guidelines, have to report for March. So I'm going to be with Casey on that, and we probably will have one by maybe the second meeting in April. We should have an update, and that'll give you a good idea where we're going with all the projects and all the contracts.
And I think that's important. I think that the voters were very generous and appropriated a huge sum of money, and I think we owe it to them to report out as regularly as we possibly can. So I think that's what you're after, right, Brian?
Yeah. I still had people call me and ask me why the town is asking the taxpayers for $250,000 for library landscaping. And I had to keep explaining to them, no, that's not the way it's working.
They're going to get a donation. It's not out of your pocket.
It's not costing you anything.
Yeah,
And
I'll make one comment on that. I think that's, we used to bold, and I think that's one of the words we used to always bold, and people would see it, and I think people just didn't see that. Anybody else have any other questions or concerns on this? Hearing none, can I have a motion? Don't all jump up at once.
I guess move to approve the ARPA funding bid process for Public Works as outlined by Dave Ford and Town Manager Video.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. We're going to go on to the 2020 seasonal road posting.
Yes, that time of year again. I don't have to tell anyone. And this year's been kind of extra special.
Yes, it has.
I don't know if it's my truck or my eyes, but it seems like the boulders are popping up in places where you wouldn't expect them. Mother Nature always keeps you on your toes. So we are posting. The roads are all posted today. I thought you would have our support. Things are getting soft. We have a cold night tonight, so we will continue working with contractors. Certain roads will be getting road acceptance. So people got to understand that we still allow certain trucks to run at certain times of the day if we think it's safe, because we don't want to stop construction altogether. We also do allow school buses and fuel trucks and limited on some of the trash trucks too. So we do have to have those going. We just ask everyone to be careful. If anyone sees any problems with the roads, report them immediately. Everyone should be careful now of soft shoulders. Pavement may look good, the shoulder looks good, but also you can sink in there, so don't go somewhere where you don't belong. Gravel roads are starting to get a little mushy. There'll be times when you don't want to be on them, especially after a warm day and the sun's out. They're gonna soften up really bad. So everyone knows that. We still have some new people to town that they get caught by surprise. But again, this is the posting. It will be on the webpage. It's in the newspaper tomorrow. And again, all the roads will be posted. And as usual, if someone wants to make deliveries, they call us and we can kind of help them get through the process.
Yeah, and I got to say, Pleasant Valley Road is just shot this year, and I want to say I saw your men out today trying to patch the worst holes, and when I've called in because I thought it was dangerous, you got out there in a very quick period of time. So I know your staff is trying, but this year has been brutal.
Right, and we may end up having to make some changes because of that really fell apart quickly. It's delaminating. And so we will be talking about potentially changing some monies around to maybe address that sooner than later, because I don't think we can wait. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And we try to put the signs out to slow people down. Other roads will come back, but there we're losing the pavement. Other roads are just heaving. That section there, the pavement's, we're plowing them up, and it's in the banks. So.
But I think what I want to get at is you are responsive when somebody
yes,
calls.
we try.
When there's a hole there, the men are there that day, so I appreciate that. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I have something that's a little off. I had some people approach me, and they were wondering if it was possible to put some kind of, like a raised speed bump like we're going to be doing on Railroad Ave by Cary Beach. Because they said on Forest Road, because they say the cars come very fast by the beach area, and there's a lot of people walking around, and they said that over the years they felt that it was kind of dangerous.
Well, traffic calming is a real problem. We have a lot of areas where we have pedestrian traffic, Bay Street, by the beach, very important. I don't think we're going to get a lot of support from Highway Department on putting any speed bumps on major roads with a speed limit of 30 miles an hour.
Okay.
It's just not what you do. We have to have traffic calming. It has to come with a neighborhood approach, narrowing the roads down, trying to bring in visual things. Signage, we had put some signage there. It's the locals and the contractors. We got to work together to try to slow people down. The police have worked on many areas. We have the signs we can get out there to maybe help slow people down. It is a problem, but that would be the last resort, which a little bit different than Railroad Ave. That's almost a 10-mile. That's a very slow zone through there. So at 10 miles an hour, no one's going to get caught doing 30, hitting that one. So, and then even there, we haven't committed to that yet. We talked about it. We're going to see how this this summer works as it's brand new. We'll see if it is going to be a problem. Hopefully, people can be slow, take their time, enjoy the beauty, and then we don't have to get crazy with that traffic calming.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Blessing of a rough road, right, Dave?
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
do we get a motion on that?
I'm about ready to get that. All right. Can I have a motion?
Move to implement the 10-ton weight limit on town roads effective March 10th, 2022, until lifted by the Public Works Department.
Do I have a second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. Next item on the agenda, proposed police station project update.
Hello, good evening. I'm Chief Rondo, Wolfeboro PD, and I'm going to take you through this information briefing on the proposed police department.
Can you put my screen?
There we go.
Thank you.
There we go. Yeah. So if you take a look at this diagram, you should have it in your packets, but it's on the screen behind you. You see the schematic of the footprint of the new police station. This is showing basically an overlay. You're showing North Main Street and what the road cut will look like. You're showing the parking out front with some green space and landscaping. You're seeing the building, parking, and the impound area in the back. Those geodesic-looking dome-like things that you see scattered around, those are actually trees. So you'll see in here, and one of the concerns that I think we've heard in the past is sound and light pollution, and that greenery will help to trim that effect. I'll give you a moment to take a look at that if you have any questions.
I do have a question. Are these existing trees, or there's a lot, is this already there?
No, those would have to be planted, yes.
So they're going to be small, it'll take a while to get any kind of size shift.
Yes, and there may be some of the existing trees that stay there that'll obviously, be up to the contractors when they're, digging the hole and building the buildings, and I don't know what's going to be in the way and what's not.
Okay, there are a lot of big old pines there to the other side of that shed, so that's what I was wondering, whether these were going to be...
You're absolutely correct, and some of those may stay. Some of those may go. I don't know which is which at this point. It's too early to tell. So the next slide is a little bit closer up view. So you see the schematic. This is what the ground floor will look like. In the meeting I had with the architect on I believe it was the 22nd or 23rd of February, I did point out to him a couple of things that we're still adjusting. I'd like to see a latrine facility in central booking area, so we don't have to escort prisoners throughout the building to use a latrine. So we'll be looking at putting a bathroom and doing some minor changes in there. But this is basically the 98% 100% solution that we had to get to send the schematics to the cost estimator. Let me take you on a little walk so that starting from my right, your left, and moving on, that light blue space is the common area. That's the little vestibule there in the lobby. Thank you very much for pointing that out. And then if you move and you make an immediate right face, you're going to be into community room, commission briefing area, another area we can set up as a command post in case of a crisis. There is a little kitchenette in there and a latrine facility. So that will be open to the public. That is a secure space, meaning that when the public is in there, they really don't have access to the rest of the building. Everything else is secure. If you move down the corridor and over to the darker blue area, you're going to see that is where we're going to have evidence storage, and our crime lab will go in there. Weapons vault will be in there, narcotics vault. So basically, all of the things that we need to keep separate and secure will be in that area. And this building is designed toward, if you will, I'm going to use the term CALIA, but professional policing standards. That's what this is all designed to do, so we can go after that certification. Moving on, you're going to see in that gray area there to the right, you're going to see the mechanics area. That's where all the mechanical equipment will go. You'll see a stairwell leading up to the second floor. You're going to have a janitorial area. You'll have a back entry in that light yellow space right there, back entry. That'll take you to the back of the building and out into the parking lot in the impound area. Moving down into the lime green, stay on that slide, please, back one. Yep, in that lime green area, you see the Sally Port there. There's 2 police cruisers in there. Then you move into what is, back up. Yep, you'll move into that lime green area, and that's central booking. That's where you're going to have your sight and sound separation of your male and female cells, your juvenile holding area, sight and sound separation, a latrine in there, interview room, intoxilizer room, and some other administrative spaces back there for central booking. If you move into the purple area, that's basically going to be communications and dispatch. You'll see in there that there's storage, there's a supervisor's office, there's the main dispatch area, and then we have locker room and unisex latrine facility. Give you a few minutes to take a look at that before we go upstairs. Do you have any questions?
In the booking area, there's no restroom in the booking area?
Yes, sir. Yeah, all that takes place in that lime green area.
When you have the female and male holding areas, is that for a temporary time, or are you going to be able to keep them overnight?
No, we know. Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you very much for asking that. Pardon me. No overnight storage. No overnight incarcerations. We're not doing that. That is not what we're doing. This is if we have multiple arrestees, we have to take them out one by one. We have to do interview and interrogation, whatever the case may be, hold them until they're picked up by friends and family, if it's an intoxicated individual, whatever the case may be, or multiple individuals. That's what that is. We have male and female. You want to separate them. You don't want them in the same area. Sight and sound separation. Juveniles, they're by law, sight and sound separation. They can't be looking at the adults and so forth and so on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Brian.
Where does what happens if there is someone that can't go home that night? Do they go to the Ossipee courthouse or the
We take them to jail.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Yeah. We just take them to jail, you know. We can put them, if they have you know, if it's a bail situation, you know, we can bail them right from the PD and just put them out into the front lobby and, you know, they can wait for a ride. But if they're, you know, let's say it's an EBW, electric bench warrant, where there's a cash bail and they can't make bail, they're going to jail. So moving on to the second floor. So again, starting from my right, your left, and moving upstairs from the main lobby, you're going to move in. There's an interview room at the top of the stairs over here on the far right. Exactly, yes, sir, you got it. Right in there where the arrow is. And that's so we can bring people in and do basically interviews. So we're not having to cart them through the building. It's very convenient. Take them right upstairs. If you move into the upstairs space, you're going to see the investigative file storage room. If we have to bring a prisoner upstairs, there's a detainee latrine facility. We have some storage room up there, specialized equipment storage, and then some storage space for specialized equipment like interview, surveillance equipment, so forth and so on. Technical crash reconstruction items, things that we need. If you move into the salmon-colored area, you'll see the male locker room and shower. You're going to see staff restroom, female locker room. You've got a couple of bunk rooms upstairs, some storage, break area, and agility training. The officers, police officers, now I'm one of the last in the inventory, if you will, that are not mandated an agility test every 3 years. But all the officers now, including Captain Livy, have to take and pass an annual PT test, or correction, a PT test every 3 years. There's one PT test every 3 years. But that's okay, because when I was in the Army, I was having to take one every 6 months. So this is payback. That was a joke.
Julia, how about the bunk rooms? Can you explain why the police would have bunk rooms for the public?
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. We have, like everything else, we're a reasonably small agency. Stay on that slide. We're a reasonably small agency. So right now we have 14 full-time officers, and presently right now we have 2 part-time. And there are times when we have officers, like for example with COVID, it was not uncommon for us to have 3 officers out, and very quick turnarounds. And during inclement weather, bad snowstorms, we have an officer that lives far away. Maybe it just makes sense for him or her to bunk down right in the bunk room, especially if they have a quick turnaround in another 6 or 8 hours. It's about being able to, give them a place to stay, give them a place to rest, so they turn around, they're meeting their shift, and they're maximizing their sleep. Last thing I want is a tired police officer out there on the streets. This is officer safety. It's good for the public. It's good for the officer. So having a couple of bunk rooms in case of an emergency like that is always a good idea.
Thank you.
If we move down, so you've got a secured corridor. You see that whole area right up on the second floor. That's all secured, right? You're in what is called the secure side of the building. You're going to come across. You'll see an office for the prosecutor there toward the back wall. Then you've got the armory upstairs. Now that's different from secure weapon storage. So when that you saw earlier, so we don't want to mix police weapons with civilian weapons that are either secured for safekeeping, secured as evidence, or secured as a result of a domestic violence restraining order. So for example, we take in a lot of firearms. Sergeant Sparrow the other day served a restraining order. He had to seize a number of firearms, 46 firearms, and then later bows, arrows, and a crossbow. So we take in a lot of weapons, and we need a secure weapons facility, and you don't want to be mixing police weapons, which is what that is, with civilian weapons. So now upstairs in the blue area, you're going to see the patrolman's workstation area, staff sergeant's office, and then you see the patrol sergeant's quartermaster supply area. Moving across, you'll see the storage area for the juvenile services officer. Then you see the short and long-term storage facilities moving over into the green area. That's really the administration. You're going to have myself, the captain, the administrative assistant, the executive administrative assistant, waiting room, copy room, that type of stuff. You do see the elevator there, so that makes the entire building ADA compliant. Moving on to the final diagram that you'll see, that's kind of somewhat of a color diagram. We did make some changes to try to limit the space on this building. This is what you're seeing right now is the latest artist rendition of that building. Again, those geodesic dome-looking things, there's really greenery and trees. But that's what the facility will essentially look like. Ladies and gentlemen, subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Do you have a estimated cost at this point? Not a bid cost, but
I do, and I'll let the town manager correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's between 6.1 and 6.2 is the last cost estimate, and I believe that's today's dollars. When we first, I think, started this, a standalone police station in 2019 was 4.7. Jim, does that sound about right?
Yeah, and I'll just go back here. If I remember correctly, Chief, this last iteration had this 612 square feet removed, and I don't think we received updated pricing based on that because it went back out to Job and their estimator, correct?
That's correct. It's gone to, that's correct. We have not received that price back with that 612 square feet removed. And after my 23 February meeting with the architect, we got this to about a 95, 98% solution. We're probably going to have to put in a couple of latrines in here, but we needed to get this to the cost estimator, Mark Joven, for his final cost estimate. So we should have some better numbers here coming shortly. Sir, you have, Jim Pinio, sir, you have my notes or the architect's notes that I asked him to put in red on that document that kind of lays out what I saw as the timeline. So having said that, sir, I know you had a question.
I did, Dean. What's the total square footage of the building, upstairs and downstairs?
It is
13,560 feet.
What he said.
Say that again, Jim.
13,560 square feet.
That's correct.
How many square feet are you stuffed in now?
Yeah, I should know this, right?
If you don't know, I understand that. Just
We have that in all the public safety documents, but I don't recall what it is.
Yeah, I'm not recalling off the top of my head, but I want to say it's about half.
about half.
Yeah, we're literally living on top of each other in that building.
Yeah.
If you've seen the video, the building itself is, I think, a great building. It does need some renovation, some tender loving care, right? Some TLC, and I think it has a lot of usefulness and potential. But in order for that to happen, I think we've got to move out, and I think this is the most cost-effective.
Yeah.
And simplest method to do that.
How long has the police department been there?
Approximately 50 years. It depends on, I'm not sure if we moved in. I think we moved in 1972, but I've heard somebody else say maybe it was 1974. So 48 to 50 years.
So right around that time is what my understanding is.
I would assume then you had half the staff, half the cars, half the equipment.
Yeah, yes, we did. That's exactly correct. When I first, so interestingly enough, I was hired in 1996. So when I first came on, I think we had 3 cruisers in patrol, and I think there were another 3 administrative vehicles that we never saw. That was the chiefs, the lieutenants, and the detective sergeant. And so there were only 3 cars in patrol. It was not uncommon back then for me to be going to either the lieutenant's house or the sergeant's house to grab one of the unmarks because all 3 patrol vehicles were down for mechanical reasons or recalls or what have you.
Dean, one of the things that we hear is there'll be a lot of noise and from the cars going in and out. And I think you have said before, most of the time your patrol cars are out on the road, not going to be coming out of this facility. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are. So let's take a little bit of time and talk about that. And so most of the time, when the patrol officers come in to meet their patrol sergeant or meet the patrol corporal, they're receiving their tasks, they're meeting with dispatch, they're being handed whatever paperwork. We'll call it a mini roll call, if you will. At which point, they're out on the road and they're doing their business, whether it's serving paperwork or making arrests or doing follow-up or traffic enforcement, whatever it is that they're tasked with. So they're out on the road. If they're coming back in, it's probably for something like to speak to a supervisor, to address a particular issue, log evidence, process an arrestee, liaise with another law enforcement organization or officer or what have you, and then once they complete that work, they're back out on the road. I will be the first to tell you that that was a challenge in 1996 with the administration kicking us out on, getting us out on the road, and it's still a challenge, right? It's one of the ongoing things. It's why we have supervisors. You know, one of my favorite expressions is, hey, you're going to get the tires dirty on that cruiser. Okay, Chief, I'm on my way out. So it's constant battle. But yes, they're out on the road doing work. If we're screaming out of the station, there's probably because there's a high likelihood of an emergency event that requires some upper-level supervision, whether it's a barricaded subject or whether it's a fire and it's all hands on deck, or we have some other crisis going that requires everybody in uniform to be out there. Generally speaking, this is going to be a very quiet location, and that's kind of what the point I'm trying to get at. My officers are out. They have MDTs in the cruisers. That was the purpose of it. Now, sure, sometimes MDTs go down, right? They're mechanical or they're electronic. Sometimes they break. Sometimes they have to come in to deal with a citizen complaint or a citizen issue, or whatever the case may be. Sure, they're going to come in the station. Maybe they'll come in to eat lunch, but they're coming right back out, and we keep a close eye on that. This is going to be a reasonably quiet facility. It's just the nature of the animal.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief? Dave?
Just follow up on what you just said. The other issue is that this is probably going to go to the planning board for site review. Any exterior lighting will have to be dark sky compliant, which means that it won't shine on to neighbors' properties. I think that was a question that was brought up by some people. So I think that, you know, in the best interest, this will be looked at just the same as any other business property or any of our properties that we do work on have to be dark sky compliant. And that's a standard today.
We want to be dark skies compliant, and we want to be good neighbors, and without a doubt. And we're you know, I will do everything we can to make sure that we're good neighbors, that we're dark skies compliant, that we're keeping a handle on the noise. We're doing everything we can to mitigate the noise, and that includes the light pollution as well. So, I mean, everything part and parcel of that. We'll do everything we can to limit that exposure. We're not trying to create enemies.
Linda?
Yeah.
Chief Rondo, I pass this out to the board members and to you. It's the USDA Rural Development Grant. I've talked to the people up in Vermont, and they say that Joe Biden gave out $3 billion or something for towns in rural areas, and part of the things that they're looking for is public safety buildings.
Yes.
Museums, Brad. Community centers and they have this grant money, and they say that it is being underutilized right now. So,
well, I am aware of that, And that was on my list of things to do, is to start writing grants and applying for these things and meeting the deadlines. And there's also a grant out there for some equipment we can use in the police station for the command post. And we want to apply for that as well. But yes, I was aware of that, and I do appreciate you giving me that document, because I'm sure it has a lot of good points of contact and information that I'll be using.
And I think it's very important for the public to know that you're out there looking for every grant that we possibly can get to, just like the warrant articles passed, we had got some federal funds. The more of those types of funds that we can get for this facility to help the taxpayer pay for it, we support you in every grant that you write.
I know you do, and I appreciate that. And yes, I will be definitely doing that. I will be looking for those grants and applying for those grants. And while we're on this subject, I'll be coming back before the board as soon as I get it. I went down last Friday, I think it was Friday, to highway safety, New Hampshire highway safety, and secured some additional grant funding for the police department. So there'll be an amendment to our contract coming forward with approximately additional $7,500. We were already given $2,500. That was anticipated funds. This is now $7,500 of unanticipated funds. So I'm expecting that. My recommendation is that it go before public. We have a public hearing on it, because it's $10,000, and I know the rule says over $10,000, but I think it's close enough.
Yeah,
This USDA grant, when I was talking to him, he said it's between 30 and 55% of the entire project.
Yes, that's attractive. That's quite attractive.
You got the right wording.
Yeah, and you know, truth be told, I would write it even if it was $200,000 or $300,000, for example. But I really like this design. I like the plan that we have moving forward. This is a big game of Tetris, if you will. I'm ripping that off from Paul O'Brien. You know, we have to move the pieces puzzle around to be able to get to rehabilitate and make the fire station renovated. And so.
Dave, or anybody else have any more comments? Luke, you're on the committee. We have Dave and Luke on a committee with you looking at this, so there's representation from the Board of Selectmen, am I correct? That looking at the bill.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said you had Dave and you've had Luke working with a committee with you, so this is...
Two members of the Budget Committee as well.
Okay.
We had, off and on, we had a couple of different members of the Wolfeboro Police Commission. We had members from the public on there. We had the town manager, myself, the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, Captain Livy. Yeah, so we had a good mix on the team, and the plans moving forward, I think, are very sound.
Do you need help with grant writing?
No.
Does anybody else?
And I think now, moving forward with the plans, you know, now the voters approved the money for the plans to be built, you know, over the next course of time, you know, as people on the committee and then the chief, you know, we're going to be out there talking more about the project so that people are better informed about it, you know, and share in the excitement of this and are more active players, you know, out there right now. There's a lot of people that are nervous about being in that location, but I think once we're able to, you know, talk them through it, show them the plan, show them the landscaping and stuff like that, and have the chief talk to all these points, I think people are going to be much more comfortable with it going forward.
Is there on the homepage a link to this?
Not yet.
It'd be nice that we get that, because I think that will help some of the questions that people keep on having, and put some fact sheets on that, and when we can get that out.
I certainly think, to be honest with you, I certainly think we can do a better job at getting the information out. I certainly think that people asked a lot of really good questions throughout the run-up, if you will, to the town vote. I think it is incumbent upon us to get the information out. We'll be talking about it on my radio and TV show. We will meet whatever groups. If groups want to meet us, we'll certainly go down there. One thing I do want to say while I'm on the air here, and in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, is that, look, we looked at a lot of different properties in and around town, even 2 and 3 times in some cases. some of the areas were favorites of some of the various committee members. We looked very heavily at the 109A area. We looked at the Filter Bed Road area. I liked the 109A area. I went back. In fact, I even went out and walked the area myself in the cruiser, parked off the side and looked around where things would go and tried to visualize it. You can't get away from a couple of things on 109A, and one of those is the storage farm for the Eastern Propane, for their propane and fuel oil storage tanks. We know those things are reasonably safe, and I'm not trying to cause any alarm, but that's pretty darn close to that facility, and we don't want to risk, certainly the police department, various options. So we vetted everything that we could possibly vet. If something between now and then pops, I'm sure we'll take a very close look at that. But we had great input from all the committee members, and I think at the end of the day, this site just became the obvious one.
Good. Anybody else have any questions or comments at this particular time? Thank you very much for coming. I'm sure the public will be glad to hear more about this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move on. Next item is a request to offer disc golf at the Abenaki ski area. Jim, I'm going to turn this over to you.
So, Madam Chairperson, myself and Christine Collins met with Mr. Toll and Mr. Woodward back in early February. They are interested in looking into studying the feasibility of disc golf at the Abenaki property and on some of the spray field areas. This is very early, very conceptual. They're really at this point looking to be able to see if this is something that the Board of Selectmen would be interested in allowing them to entertain on town property as they move forward. A couple of concerns that I do have. They've assured us that it's a minimal impact on Parks and Rec, but I think we've already got a Parks and Rec department which is overburdened and potentially even understaffed. So I am concerned about that, but they've assured that there's a minimal impact on that. The other thing is relative to the spray fields. They said that there wouldn't be a whole lot of tree removal, is my understanding, to be able to host the disc golf at this location. But I do have some concern about that and the future of the spray fields. The other thing that has actually just been brought to my attention since I've returned from vacation is the possibility of how the town actually acquired that piece of property, and that it may not be allowed to do it because the way we acquired the property, it's my understanding, was through eminent domain, and there was a certain purpose for it, so we may have to study that further. With that said, Mr. Toll and Mr. Woodward are here to discuss what their vision is for this, and I've got some slides to be able to go through as they talk through what they're interested in.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, my name is Steve Town. I'm a retired civil engineer, land planner, and I'm here with Keith Woodward, who is a disc golf enthusiast extraordinaire. He actually played today. But we both live in town, and we were talking one night and just thought, wow, where could we fit a disc golf course in Wolfeboro? And we thought a little bit about Abenaki, the fact that it already has a winter use, it doesn't have a summer use. We looked at the master plan, and it said it's going to try to encourage a summer use for that area. And we thought, well, disc golf would be a really good fit. Right now we're traveling an hour, sometimes 2 or 3 hours to a disc golf course to play. I've been playing for 15 years. I started with our kids, and we We just love the sport. We play on the weekends. We meet, have family come up, and then we'll go to play disc golf at least one day a weekend. So we thought, well, if we could maybe get some volunteers and try to see if it'd be a possible fit for Wolfeboro. That's basically our goal. So far, we have 4 really good volunteers. Peter Goodwin, who does mapping and orientation in town, has offered his services to help with any mapping and trail mapping that already exists out at Abenaki. And Greg Breton is a retired CAD GIS person who could help us develop a plan if it does move forward. So we're really excited to find out if the town is even interested, for one thing. We did prepare a draft proposal, which I think we submitted, and wanted to make sure everybody had a copy of that. And if everybody has read that, and if they have any questions, if someone has not read it and they don't understand what disc golf is, or if they want further explanation about the sport and the land requirements, we can go through that tonight, or we can whatever the board's purview is.
Linda, I have a question. Are any of these other disc golf places any good? Moose Mountain Recreational Area.
It's more of a recreation type disc golf course. There's certain levels of courses.
Yep. How about the woods at Beauty Hill?
That's
in Barnstead.
Converted farm that was converted to a disc golf course, right?
Okay. How about Sunshine Park in Sandwich?
That was a town park that's very small and very, very limited area, and it's a very beginner type disc golf course.
How about Squamigonik
in
Rochester?
In Rochester, yeah. That is located in a reclaimed gravel pit.
Okay.
Most of it is, and a lot of it goes along the Salmon Falls River.
All right, and the Salmon Falls Disc Golf Course?
Same thing, yeah.
Same thing. And the last one in Canterbury, Top of the Hills Disc Golf Course.
Yep, we're familiar with those. Okay. That's a recreation there. I think they're enlarging that now. I think they're actually creating 2 more holes, 2 more 18-hole courses there. Okay. Because the first 18-hole course was so successful.
So that's the best one around?
It's probably the largest one. We play in Limerick mostly. They have 3 courses there, and there's 3 different levels. There's sort of a beginner course, an intermediate, and then there's a pro level course, which takes about 3.5 hours to do 1 round.
What level would ours be?
It could be any level, depending on the land that is allocated for it, the amount of money that can be funded toward building it. It's endless. Right now, there's professional courses in Smuggler's Notch in Vermont that are destination courses. They've got hotels there just for the disc golf and accommodations, and people go there as a destination to play disc golf. It's the Pro Tour plays there. The opportunities are endless, and it all depends on the level of effort the town would like to put into it.
Other than Smuggler's Notch, any other pro courses around this area?
There's one in Maple Hill in Leicester, Massachusetts, and the PGGA sanctions Pro Tour there. They're on TV. It's pretty interesting, actually, watching them.
Dave?
Yeah, we got these 2 maps that we have.
Yep.
Okay. One looks like it's relatively congested, if you will. This other one looks like it's pretty spread out. Do you know how many acres we're talking about with these 2 different proposals?
The smaller course is sort of like a recreation level course that is condensed to try and maximize the use of a small amount of land, and it's about 15, 20 acres. and the other course is about 25 to 30 acres, depending on how the layout lays out. But those are just samples that we tried to put together just to give the board a feel for the scope and what we're talking about as far as land use.
This is, as most of us know, and you do as well, that these are our spray fields for our sewer treatment plant.
Yeah, we recently found out from Dave Ford that he's possibly going to be actively using those.
We know we will be for at least the next year.
Right.
And then after that, we're not sure what's going to happen. But this area is not super dense. There's a lot of brushy growth, if you will.
Yeah, it's mostly undergrowth.
That kind of stuff.
Mostly undergrowth clearing, which is actually a benefit because to build a fairway for the course, you won't have to do much tree clearing. A lot of the clearing's already been done. So it'll be a very, very minimal impact to the woods the way it is now.
Because we do have some wet areas out there that are on a big map that we have. But
yeah, if it gets to the next level, we can map the wetlands and go through a more detailed layout. And we can look at other parcels of land in town if the town has any other ideas. These are just sort of ideas at this point.
this obviously is a daytime sport, no lighting or that kind of stuff?
Correct. Yeah. It has developed into a winter sport. People play year-round now. They have tournaments in the winter all over New England, which is kind of unique. But I don't. If it is sited at Abenaki, obviously there'd be conflicts with the ski trails.
So I guess I got a question about your organization. I am assuming you're not a 501c3. You haven't incorporated. You're just a bunch of people looking at the town to take on this sport on its land.
Exactly. We're just volunteers to assist the town in any way we can help. Yep.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is an expansion of our Park and Rec department. And I guess where I am, we're in the process of doing an analysis of the amount of programs we have and the amount of staff. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be comfortable giving any kind of a go-ahead until that analysis came back so we can be honest and fair with you where we are as a town. I'm also, I would have a real hard time using the spray fields. I was here when the effluent disposal site failed. Mm-hmm. And we were so lucky to have that other option. And I know we are hoping that nothing like that will happen again, but I feel redundancy is very important. And we don't know how the town's going to grow and whether we might need to use that sooner than we had originally thought. So those are the things that kind of come to my mind. I would think it would be a fun thing to do. I'm sure that people would love to do it. There's nothing about the activity that is not, I think, very good for Wolfeboro. But I just don't think we're in any shape to be able to give you go ahead where we are right now. So I don't know how other members feel. Anybody?
Have you walked that area up there?
Yeah, several times.
Have you seen the bike trails that are up there?
Yeah, we have.
And how would that interact together? Just curious. I mean, we don't want kids getting hit in the head with Frisbees as they're going down the mountains on bike trails.
No, there's a lot of parks that do commingle bike and dog walks and disc golf. And the way you design the course, when you're on the tee, there's always a visual cue so that there isn't any impact to any of the other uses before you throw your disc.
And I do agree with Linda. I think we need to make sure that our RIB is running correctly, keep the reserve of the spray fields. We're already in a situation where we're working with the bike trails that were installed without town permission. And now looking at another layer on top of it with disc golf in the same place, you can see where that would be a lot for us right now.
Right. Yeah, we realize there's a lot of competing uses out there, and we thought that if there was a way to commingle those and possibly get a layout outside the spray area.
Have you approached our Conservation Commission?
No, I haven't talked to them yet.
They have bike trails, and they have tons of conservation land that they have.
We are. I think we took on a lot of things over the years and coming to the point where, we're running into some problems. But if you can get more of an organization, you may be able to do something with the Conservation Commission. I don't know where, Brad?
Yeah, I was going to bring up a suggestion about the land bank, which you said you've already talked and walked that property there. Another one I happen to think of too was I believe the Lakes Region Conservation Trust has ownership and manages the Sewell Woods cross-country ski trail system in there. I don't know if that would be an option to even take a look at too or not. Obviously, there's a lot of trails in there now, which could open up, alleys and stuff for fairways or whatever there. It might be something to at least take a look at. There's a pretty good chunk of property there, right in downtown, close to downtown area, actually.
Yeah.
Not even just there. The Conservation Trust owns land in Sandwich. They own the Castle and the Clouds in Wolfeboro, all that property. They might have an area in their mind that they say, we don't use this for anything, and they might be open to it. And
I think they have a temporary course at Castle in the Clouds where they host tournaments in the summer once or twice a year.
So they're a good outlet, Brad. And our Conservation Commission, they're always taking more pieces of land, and you can use this on a sloped course, correct? On a sloped hill. It doesn't have to be flat, level, and cleared to do this, correct?
Yeah, the varied terrain is actually better. A lot of different open, wooded.
Yeah.
The more varied, the better. And the relief is also helpful too.
Yeah. So I would reach out to the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Again, we're just trying to float the idea at this point, and see what.
I can put you in contact with the appropriate contact at the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Great. I appreciate it.
So we're not giving you the thumbs down, but we're not giving you the thumbs up.
We're trying to help you.
We're just kind of, it's an interesting concept. We're just not in the position right now to
Of course.
take on
we
something.
didn't expect you would be. Again, we're just trying to float the idea to see if it's a complete no or a complete or partial yes. Or,
just right location, the right place.
Exactly. The site selection is going to be the primary importance.
We had, at one time in Wolfeboro, we had one of the top croquet courses in the entire country.
Oh, really?
We actually had people that played croquet here that were ranked in the top 3 in the world.
Wow.
And that course has gone, and they never could find another place to put it. But,
Wow.
I applaud you for trying, and keep going at it.
Well, we have been getting a lot of support. The head of school at Brewster just submitted a support letter today, and it would provide a great program for the school system. Right now, there are professional grants to actually get disc the golf baskets to schools, so they can start programs and do putting competitions in the gym for gym class. So there's a lot of different opportunities that actually bloom from just the thought of doing a disc golf course. The schools can have competitions after school, and they can do tournaments on the weekends amongst themselves. And it's a great sport for kids that don't fit into the typical mold of football, basketball, ice hockey.
Well, I would say you keep in contact with the town manager and find out how we come out when we get our study.
Yep.
And,
do you know about when the study will be completed?
So we're hopeful to be able to launch the study late summer, early fall. The turnaround time, I'm not sure how long it's going to be. It could be 3 months. But that's what the earliest point that we can get the consultant in to look at our programs.
Sure. Appreciate it. Do you have any questions or anything to add?
Thank you very much for
Okay.
coming.
Thank you for your
It
time.
sounds very interesting.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a letter to oppose HB 249, short-term, it should be
Sorry,
SB, not HB, short-term rentals. And this is, we talked about it at the last Board of Selectmen. You agreed that I should draft a letter. I drafted a letter. Main issue, I looked at RSA 674:16, which it gives the power to the town, the municipality, to adopt zoning ordinance. This bill would restrict some of that authority. There is another bill, HB 1174, again, putting restrictions on some of the zoning that we would be allowed to do. And so it isn't so much about short-term rentals, it's about the state coming in and taking some of the authority that they had already granted the town away. So that's how I wrote it, and so it's up to the board on whether they want to send it. We have tentatively asked Jeb Bradley, John McDonald, and Brody Deshay to come to our March 23rd meeting and talk to us about SB 249. Right?
Yep, I just got word that Jeb and John and Brody will be here the 23rd to discuss this with us, and I think we should hold the letter until we hear their side of the story and we know what they think the reasoning is for the bill, and then it might affect the way we write the letter and what we add or take out of the letter. We might make it more aggressive, we might make it friendlier. I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Do we know when this is coming up for vote?
No, but they believe in April.
I was unable to get any time out of John McDonald. John McDonald did tell me that there were 409 in support of the bill, 167 against. And I guess my stand is I am against the state taking away authority that they already grant us. That's it. Whatever excuse they have or how they've changed it, it's that principle that I have the issue with, not on any particular one item. You know, we can go against them taking away that authority. It doesn't mean that we're going to zone short-term rentals or anything out. We still have that authority. To me, it's keeping the town's authority to make those choices for it, and that's where I am.
Did anybody get the article from Amy about Colorado and their ski resorts? Right now, Steamboat and Telluride are having issues with the exact same thing. In Steamboat, 11% of the people who live in Steamboat actually own their own homes because everything is a short-term rental, everything is a second home. So what Wolfeboro may see 10, 15 years down the road, and they're living it now. They are having some creative ways of doing it, like limiting the number of short-term rentals. You can have X number in the town, period. That's not a zoning ordinance. So we could say that there's only 200 short-term rentals allowed in the town of Wolfeboro, period. We give out permits for them, end of story. So there is ways that, and I agree with Linda, that I don't like the bill in that it does take away your ability to control your zones 100%. I just want to address that with Jeb, myself, face-to-face, and make sure that this doesn't take away all the town's powers. I think there's other ways we can address short-term rentals, but I want to speak with him first.
You know, and I wrote this one sentence that says, Wolfeboro being a tourist and seasonal destination for summer visitors know the importance to be a welcoming community. You know, we understand that, and we run a charrette. I think the town does a lot to gather in the information and to get the feelings of the town. Where this may need to be in a place like Manchester or Nashua, I find a bill that takes everybody and paints it with the same brush is where I'm having the issue. And I thought that's what we had decided when I wrote this, so I don't know what people want to do, or anybody wants to put a motion. I'd like to have the letter written and give it to Jeb and John and Brody and talk to them about why we felt it was important. And that's who I addressed the letter to.
I think my opinion, we can address this with them when they're here, and I think there's nothing wrong with them getting the letter the next day.
I'd like to get them to have it beforehand. I think that lets them.
Why can't we just give them the letter there? And say, these are the issues we have with it. Now
Give it to them that night?
Yeah, address these. Change our mind.
Or why don't we send it to them ahead of time so they know where we're going?
I'm fine with that, too.
You know, to say, look, this is what the letter we're writing to you about why we're concerned, and get them to respond.
Because they may have information for me, and then I look at the letter and say, why did we write that?
Well, that's where I am. I would like to see us send it.
Because I would rather not put my foot in my mouth, potentially, and know why I'm writing a letter to them.
I know why I'm writing.
But in the end, you're writing the letter because you're making a statement.
Correct. Let's make the proper statement.
Well, the proper statement is that, you know, local choice is the most important thing, regardless of what the bill is. So, I mean, that's where our responsibility comes in, especially as selectmen in the town, I think, is to look out for the best interest of Wolfeboro and not think about necessarily the rest of the state.
Oh, and again, and I agree with you, I don't like the bill. I just want to hear from them first. I want to hear from them first. That's the way I do things. I want to hear the information, I want to know their reasoning, and I want to draft our letter according and answering what they say to me face to face.
Well, it's very clear that they're making, because the bill says, making an amendment to RSA 674:16. It's going to be an amendment to that, and it's going to prohibit us from doing it. That's a reality. No matter what they say, that's happening. That's how it says.
Is the House going to amend it again?
We're just trying to tell them where we are. They're our representative. The House may do it again, but we're just trying to get our feeling on how we feel about having our authority to adopt our own zoning ordinances and having some restriction put on there. And there are other bills that have even more restriction on it. They're going at that section of the state RSAs. That's where I'm having the problem. We may do nothing or we may do a lot. It'll depend upon what the feeling is of the community, and I feel that's the most important. Brad?
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Linda. I think we kind of talked about this letter, put it together, made a couple little adjustments to it. I completely agree that the bill, no matter if they even make some amendments to it, it's still going to be restricting the town's ability to regulate itself, and I'm against that. I think they should have, personally, I think they should have this letter ahead of time. That way they can come to us prepared with the answers to what our concerns are up front. And hopefully that our letter, even if they do make some amendments to their proposal, that they would be using our letter and our thought process in any amendments that they would make to reduce the effect that it would have on the town ability to regulate themselves. So, in my opinion, I think I'd like to send this letter ahead of time. They have it, they can read it, they can think about it, and hopefully come prepared to discuss it with us.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, and I will not be signing the letter.
Okay, that's fine. Your choice. All righty. Next item on the agenda is probably one of our happier discussions that we've had in a long time. We'd like to talk about the results of the 2022 election, and I think, Jim, don't you have a spreadsheet and can give out some good information on that?
Sure. So last evening, thank you to the voters of Wolfeboro. You approved all of our financial warrant articles pretty much overwhelmingly in the upwards of the high 60s to 70% range. I'll go through those quickly. Pop Whale and Ice Arena, 68%. Seasonal water lines, Article 12, 81%. Article 13, dockside upgrades, Phase 3, 72%. Port wetland drainage, 74%. Sewer pump station, Mill Street, 82%. Water treatment plant, 86%. Water main upgrades, 88%. Operating budget, 69%. The AFSCME contract, 74%. Turtle Island electric upgrades, 77%. Bridge Falls Path lighting, 73%. Sewer pump station, Laner Street, 85%. Public safety building documents, 51%. Townwide historic study, 65%. Town road upgrades, 83%. Water line upgrades in that area, 86%. Solid waste upgrades, 81%. DPW employee and vehicle, 64%. Library landscaping, 64%. Fire truck capital reserve fund, 73%. DPW capital reserve fund, 69%. Creation of a sidewalk capital reserve fund, 72%. Abenaki capital reserve fund, 77%. Building maintenance capital reserve fund, 74%. Pop whale and contingency, which we will not need, 68%. Dockside parking lot capital reserve fund, 66%. Wastewater treatment capital reserve fund, 72%. Water resources non-capital reserve fund, 72%. Tax exempt for elderly, 84%. Conservation easement, 83%. And the petition regarding zoning membership failed, 42%. We had upwards of 1,800 voters turn out, excellent turnout, and thank you to the citizens and voters of Wolfeboro for your support on our budgets and our warrant articles. We've got a lot of work that will be coming in front of us this year.
And we had 29% of the voters who were on the checklist who came out to vote, which is high for us too. So it was a very successful turnout. Any other comments by any of the selectmen on any of the warrant articles? Yeah.
I want to congratulate Brad for getting reelected again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
He's with us again.
Yes, whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah, I'll just take a second to thank all the voters that voted for me, so I appreciate that, and look forward to working for another 3 years with everybody.
Good. Is there any other business? Hearing none, we'll go on to committee reports. We'll start with you, Brad.
Really haven't had any other meetings other than we were obviously all here yesterday for the day, for the elections, and I believe that was it for me.
Dave, you have any?
No, the only thing I have, same as Brad, we were all here yesterday together, and I didn't have any other meetings other than that.
Yeah, I had 2 meetings with the Friends of Pop Whalen, to say the least. They were very pleased with the vote. I've had a library trustees meeting, and I went to the Chamber quarterly meeting, and Luke, you did a wonderful job explaining the warrant articles that the Chamber wanted more information. I thought it was a wonderful event, and it was open to the public, and I'll pass it over to you now.
I think the Chamber quarterly was a great opportunity to really target the articles that the Chamber was looking at, gave the ability for the public to hear one more time the issues that were important to the Chamber, and it gave them a voice to also have their input into it. Great opportunity. I appreciate the Chamber having us there. And I think that's all I have for meetings, other than being all day yesterday at Election Day, which, it was really nice seeing that many people come out. It was a good, steady flow of people all day long. So.
I've been working with a couple of citizens who have had issues with broadband communications, getting in touch with BreezeLine, customer support. I had one family in particular that had a immunocompromised child. They needed to upgrade their breeze line equipment. When the technician came to the house, they had requested breeze line that they needed somebody who was fully vaccinated and wore a mask to come into the house because their child was immunocompromised. The worker showed up and said, nobody in our company is vaccinated, and I'm not wearing a mask, and he left. They contacted me. I have the, and I'll tell the citizens of Wolfeboro, I have the direct email address for the VP of customer support and sales for BreezeLine. I took that information from that citizen in town, and I said, you send me a detailed email about it. I added my own personal input to it, and I forwarded it to that customer service VP, and I'm waiting for a response. It's been a couple of days, and I haven't gotten one yet. I had another family that approached me with a, not to that extent, but another similar problem with customer support, and I told them the same thing. Write me an email, and I will forward it to the VP of BreezeLine. And we'll see if we can get them to start taking things seriously. That was a serious concern. That is not, I want my bill to be cut by 37 cents. Can you talk to me on the phone? That's something where they're worried about the health of their child, and this should be addressed appropriately. I myself had an issue. So when I heard that, I said, I'm going to try and see what happens with BreezeLine. So I did a test, and I called BreezeLine to have my billing looked at. An hour later, no response. I called BreezeLine again, and this time used the prompt on their phone to cancel my service. An hour later, no response. So then I called BreezeLine, and I said, I'd like to upgrade my service. That's the prompt I hit. Within 2 minutes, someone was on the line, and I said, oh, no, I have a billing issue. I'm sorry I got you. They passed me on to billing. Then I got to go in queue by putting in my phone number, and they said, you'll get a call back within 12 minutes. 11 minutes later, I got a call back, and my billing issue was corrected. So I had to say that I was upgrading my system and paying them more money to actually get a customer service response. That, again, is not right. So this is something, and I have a meeting with Nadine about this tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If the town manager or anybody else would like to be part of the call, I can make sure you're invited.
Jim, we have not signed that contract, and I think that should be noted. And you have that email?
Yeah.
Would you send it to Jim so we can put it in the file? Because I think that's something
Yeah, Amy's got the file.
that we really need to help deal with. So, thank you, Brian.
So other than that, the only other thing I've done is I've been working with a citizen in town who's had an issue with a septic system, and that's, I found him the potential of a USDA grant for a local citizen to have $20,000 and a $20,000 loan at 1% interest and a $7,000 grant to help rebuild their septic system. So there are programs for individuals out there also, and that's when I found the USDA grants that are available that might help us with some of our infrastructure, with our water lines, our water mains, even potentially with Pop Whalen, because they say that cultural centers are included in it, our community center, our police department. So they say there's a lot of money that they put billions of dollars into this program.
And Brian, didn't Dave Ford tell you we had used it in the past?
He said in the early 90s they had used it. Since then, what had happened is Wolfeboro actually had too much money in reserve accounts. And so we didn't qualify for it. But now where we are, there's a potential that we're not tier one. They have 3 tiers. We're not a tier 1 town. That's a 5,000 and under town. That falls in a very, very economically struggling category, but we fall in the 12,000 and under, and based on our town median income compared to other towns in the state, we fall into that tier, which can be up to 55% grant for infrastructure and building projects. So I'm hoping that we try and catch those.
Definitely, we would like to catch those. Jim, town manager's report?
refreshed from vacation. The only thing that I really have for you at this point is, had a conversation with Casey today. We're moving forward with the bonding for hopefully the July sale. Interest rates are still very attractive. Hoping that the first meeting in April that we have some projections for you. And then if we need to adjust the time of either 5 or 10 to 20 years, we can have that conversation at that point.
And are we looking at doing bonding all our bonded warrant articles,
Yes.
even though we're not exactly sure what the exact price tag is?
Yes.
And are we going to do any kind of analysis to know if, let's say, we don't spend 20,000 or 50,000 of a bond, what the difference is, so we know that we're comparing something, so if the interest rate went up to blah, so we have some kind of justification to bond before we know for sure.
Right, and I sat down with Casey and the new treasurer, and we looked at the cash flow and what we have on hand to be able to front those that work until the bond funds come in, or look at a bond anticipation note, and we feel that it's the best interest to move forward with the bonding and not use the bond anticipation note. Casey's having a conversation with the bond bank relative to, if that project comes in under budget, how are we able to use those funds? Can we use it to make a payment on that bond? What's the process for
Good,
that?
so you'll have all that information for us.
Yep.
Perfect.
Other than that, I have nothing.
Hey, just one quick little thing. I wanted to let Jim know, and Michelle just have to walk in too. Just wanted to compliment Michelle on, while Jim was on vacation here, of the updates and everything that she sent out to us. She did a great job of that, keeping us informed and stuff, and it was very nice to see that all town hall keeps working and everything keeps going on with all the staff we have here. So thank you, Michelle. I thought you did a great job with that, and I want to let Jim know that. So
Thank you, Brad.
You did an outstanding job.
Is there any comments from the press?
No, but congratulations on the tremendous support for all the warrant articles. That was a large number and a huge amount of work. So congratulations.
Thank you. Now it's time for public input. 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes. Is there anybody who'd like to give us public input? Hearing none, I would like a motion to go into non-public session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Brian? Yes?
Yes.
Luke?
Yes.
I'm yes.
yes.
Okay. Go.